In this video we're going to be showing you how to build Grashrax despoilers. Building these miniatures is very simple and doesn't actually require any glue, but you will need one tool, and that is a set of cutters just like these ones here to cut all the parts out from the frames. Now also, before you cut anything out, what you should do is have a good read of the instruction booklet that comes with the kit, because this will make you familiar with how the parts go together, and also you'll see all the parts are numbered, and this is to help you find them on the frames. For example, Grashrax, the first miniature we're going to build, uses parts 6 through to 10, and on the frame we can have a look for those now. You can see part number 6 is the back of the body, it's this one just here, because we've got number 6 up in the corner there. So we're going to start out by cutting out this part, also 7 and 8, which form a small sub-assembly. So to cut these out, what we need is our clippers, and if you take a look at the blade, you'll see there's a flat side just there, and then there's an angled side on the inside. Now wherever possible, you want to make sure you get the flat side next to the part that you're cutting out to ensure you get a nice smooth cut. So we're going to start out by doing that with part number 6. So just here, what we need to do is just get that flat of the blade right next to the part there like that, and then snip through. And it's just a matter of working your way around the part like this until it comes loose from the frame. As you're doing this, just make sure to be very careful before you cut. Just have a close look at the part, because sometimes, such as just here, you'll see there's a peg which we need to put the model together. You need to cut underneath it. So there we go. And we've got one more just on the side of the dagger just over here. And there we go. Number 6 removed, we can now move on to number 7. Now that is part of the head. That's just here. So again, we've got a little peg that we need to be careful of just there. So we'll cut beneath that first of all. There we go. And then we've got another one which is just behind the head. So get a grip of the part there. And there we go. With that removed, we then need number 8, and that is the front of the body. That is right here. So we'll cut this one out as well. So cutting just there. Then on top of the chest, as close to the part as we can get. There we go. And then on the side just here. There we go. So with these 3 parts removed, we can now put them together. And to do this, what we need to do is start out with the back of the body, and we need to put the head into it. So this actually uses this little hole just there. All you do is put that into position there like that. Then we put the front of the body onto this, which will hold those parts together. So just take your time lining that up, getting that peg into the hole there like that, and then press firmly together until it's connected. And there we go. So that done, we can then move on to the next part, which is number 9, and this is the staff. That's this one just here. So we'll cut this one out now. As before, you've got to be careful because there's a little peg underneath the base of the staff just there, so make sure that you cut underneath it. There we go. Then we've got one just here, then one next to the skull, just there. Then finally we've got 2 just here. Now be careful with these ones because they're connected to this twine, so you just need to really carefully put the clippers in there like that. Cut one, then cut the other, and there we go. So we can add this to our assembly now. So what we do is just line up the wrist there with that peg and hole and press together, and there we go. With that done, now all we need is the base, and the base is part number 10. So that is this one right here with the rib cage and all the bones on it. Now when cutting the base out, it actually helps to turn the frame around because it's easier to get the clipper to the connection. So we just need to cut there and just there as well. With that done, we can now put the model into the base. Now at this stage it can be a little bit fiddly because the staff can rotate a bit on the wrist there, so just take your time to make sure that all the rods are lined up with those holes like that. Then press down, and there we go, the miniature is complete. The second miniature we're going to build is Draknar, who uses parts 1 through to 5. So as before, we're going to start by cutting these out, and we actually need to begin with parts 1 and 2, which is a head sub-assembly. So number 1 is the face that we've got just there, so we're going to begin by cutting that out. So using the clippers, as before, get the flat of the blade next to what you want, and be careful not to cut off that peg just there, because we will need that for the body assembly. So cut that through there, and then at the back of this peg, just there. There we go. Then part number 2 is the horns, and they are right here. So we're going to cut these out as well, starting with just there, and then up there. There we go. So we're now ready to put these 2 parts together. Now when you're doing this, you need to make sure that the horns curl upwards. So make sure you angle them the right way around. So that is this way around like this, you see. This fits onto this peg on the back of the head, lines up there like that, and then just take your time putting it together. And this one is a little bit fiddly, so just make sure you got the angle right. And there we go. We can now move on to the next part. So what we need to do now is cut out the parts of the body, and they are located just around where the horns and the head were. So just here we've got number 3, which is the back of the body right there, and number 4 is the front of the body. So we'll cut those both out now. So number 3, first of all, we need to cut just there, then next to this skull. There we go. And then underneath this part that will fit into the base. So there's a point just there, and then just there, either side of that peg. Be sure not to cut that off by accident. And then we have next to this severed head, just there, and then on top of the axe. So there we go. Then we need the front of the body, so that's number 4. That is just next to it, so right here. First of all, cutting next to that armour, then down there. And then underneath the peg, that's under the hoof. There we go. And then finally, just there. So for this assembly, what we need to do first of all is to put the head assembly into the back of the body. So this fits in just here. What we need to do is just get that peg lined up with that hole there like that, and then these slot together. So there we go. There we are. And then the front of the body will go onto this and sandwich that together. So we just need to line up that peg and hole again. Press that together. And there we go. With that done, all we need to do now is put the model into the base. Now the base for this one is number 5, and it's the remaining large base in the frame, this one just here. And as before, it's a good idea to turn the frame round to get better access to it with the clippers. So we need to just cut there and just cut there. And then it's just a case of putting the model into that base. So what we need to do is just line it up so we've got the larger part here underneath that hoof, along with that big flat area there. Just line those two up, press down, and there we go. The model is complete. The third miniature we're going to build is the first of the 4 Ungor, and this is Ushkor. Now for this miniature, what we need to do is start out with part 11 and go all the way through to 14. So we're going to start with the body halves first of all, which are 11 and 12. So number 11 is this part just here, so we're going to begin by cutting that out. First of all, on this connection point next to the arm, so just make sure the clippers are up against that part there. Then underneath that peg, which will go into the base, so just there. And finally, we need to cut at the back of the quiver, so just there. And there we go. Then we'll need number 12, which is the other half of the body, and that is this one right here. So again, we'll start by cutting this one out at the back there. And when you get to the feet down here, make sure that you don't cut off the peg that's coming out from that rock, just there. But for the hoof, you need to cut flush underneath it there, like that. And then finally, we've got this one just on top of the neck, so just there. And there we go, number 12 is removed. So we can now put these two parts together. And these kind of go side on from each other. So what we need to do is just line those up. So like that, and then press together. And there we go. So we can now move on to the next part, which is the head and the bow. And this is number 13. This is this one right here. So let's cut this out as well. And we just have to be careful with this, get into the detail. You don't want to damage the bow by accident. First of all, clipping just there. And atop the head in between the horns. So there, like that. Then we've got on the back of this hand, so it's actually across the thumb, so just there. And then finally we've got on the actual bow itself, so just there. And there we go. So now we can put this onto the rest of the assembly. There's 2 contact points with this one. You can see we've got 2 rods coming out the back there. So one goes to the shoulder, one goes to the head. So just line those 2 up, and notice that I'm pressing it from the head there. I'm not pressing the bow because I don't want to damage it at all. All you do is press those together. And there we go. So now we're ready to add the base to the miniature. And this is number 14. This is this one right here. So again, I'm going to turn this round and clip this out. And then all we've got to do is put him into the base. And he actually angles round with that larger piece of rubble at the back. So just need to line up the feet. There we go. Then press down. And there we go. He is complete. The 4th miniature to build is Murgoth Halfhorn, and this model uses parts 19 through to 22. So we're going to start out with both halves of the body, which are 19 and 20, and well, this is, first of all, number 19 is the part holding the spear right here. So we're going to start by cutting this one out, beginning by just cutting alongside the spear, so just there, and then underneath the spear down there. Then we've got to make sure that we don't cut off that peg underneath the feet there, so it's actually under this rock. There we go. And then we can go up this side of the body, so there and against the leg, and then there against the body. There we go. So next we need number 20, which is right next to it. That is this one right here. So we'll cut this one out as well. Just taking our time to get the clippers right in against the part. So just there, and then down there, then underneath this peg. There we go. And then finally just next to the head. So it is just there. There we go. So now I can put these 2 parts together. Now again, this is going to be the front going into the back piece. So we just need to line up the peg there like that, and you'll feel it just locks together nicely. And there we go. But of course I'm missing a great big part from the front of the chest just there. So what we're going to do now is move on to the next piece, which is around here. It's number 21. So let's cut this one out now. First of all, just cutting there next to the elbow and then on top of the shoulder, just there. So this piece then goes into the front of our body assembly. So using that peg just there, it goes into the hole just there underneath the throat. So it goes in there like that. And with that in position, all we need to do now is cut out the base. The base of this miniature is number 22. It's this one right here. So we'll cut this one out now. First of all, just there, and then just there. Now, this base is angled so that you have that skull right there facing forwards. That's going to be in front of him. So make sure you just turn it around to be the right way around. Line up both those pegs, press down, and there we go. The model is complete. The fifth miniature we're going to build is Gnarl, who is the other Ungor armed with a bow, and this miniature starts out with part 15 and goes through to 18. First of all though, we need 15 and 16, which is both halves of the body. So number 15 is the front, so we're going to start out with this one just here, starting out by clipping on top of the arm, so just there, and then above the neck. And then we've got 2 contact points underneath these pegs which will go into the base, so just there and just there. Then we're going to move on to the other half of the body, which is number 16. That's all the way down here. So first of all, cut behind the quiver. So just there. And then we need to cut on the arm. So just take your time, making sure you got the clippers around the right area. And then there we go. So now we can put these 2 parts together. And what we need to do is just put the back of the body into the front by lining up the peg with the hole just inside there. So just take your time, getting this into position. There we go. And then press together. And there we are. So with that done, we're then ready for the head, which is number 17. So that on the frame is just down here. So we'll cut that one out now. Only 1 contact point for this, and it is quite a small and fiddly part. So just take your time with this one. There we go. And then this fits, of course, into the front of the rest of the assembly. So what we need to do is just line up that peg there like that and press together. And there we go. With that done, all we need is the base, which is number 18. And that base is this one right here. So let's cut this one out as well. We just need to cut just there and then just there. And with that done, we can then put the miniature into the base. Now with this one, you'll see there's kind of a flat area just there, and that is for the hoof that's on top of the rock. So we'll just line those 2 pegs up there like that, then press down. And there we go, the miniature is complete. The final miniature to build is Korsh the Sneak, and this miniature uses parts 23 all the way through to 27. First of all though, we need 23 and 24, so we'll start with those. And number 23 is the main part of the body. It's this one right here. So let's start by cutting this one out. First of all, just atop the body, just there, and then down the side. Just make sure you get the clippers really in there like that. Then we have this one on the leg, and I'm just going to turn the clippers around to get better access to it. There we go. Then underneath this peg just here, and flat underneath just there. And there we go. The next one is number 24, and that is the spear just here. So we need to cut out at the very back of the spear. It's actually easier to do it this way around. There we go. And then we've got a connection point on the arm, so just there. And there we go. So now we can put these 2 parts together. And for this, what we need to do is just line them up first of all. And it feels a little bit awkward putting this one in. It's quite an odd angle, but it kind of fits downwards into it like that. And there we go. So that done, we can then move on to the next part, and that is the leg on the other side, which is this one just here, number 25. So we need to cut underneath the peg just here, the foot that's going into the ground, and then next to this dagger just here. And there we go. And then we can add this onto our assembly. So this one goes onto the front. You just need to line this up with the belly just there. So it's in place, and then just press it all the way in so it fits snugly. And there we go. With that done, we can now move on to the head, and the head is part number 26. That's all the way over here on its own. So we'll cut this one off now. Only 1 contact point, but it's a very small part, so just be careful with this one. There we go. And now we can put this onto the front of the assembly. So what we need to do is just position the head into the neck joint. So just get the right way around. And there we go. With that done, all we need to do now is cut out the base. And the base is part 27. The final piece on the frame is this base right here. So as always, turn the frame round so you've got better access to these points here. So 1 and 2. And all we need to do is put the miniature into the base. So it lines up this way round. Just line up the 2 rods like that. Press down gently. And there we go. The miniature is complete. And there we are, Grashrax despoilers are fully built and ready to go and wreak havoc in Beastgrave. So when you're building these miniatures, there's two key things to remember. The first is that you should always make sure you read the instructions before you cut out any parts so that you know how the parts go together. And when you are cutting those parts out, just do them one at a time, making small sub-assemblies as you go to make sure that you don't get them all mixed up and confused. But really that's all you need to remember, so we really hope that you have fun when you're building your miniatures, and we'll see you all again soon.